Fantastic Four First Steps. This is going to be a full movie review and breakdown from the newest installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But before we get into anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell. Alright, Fantastic Four First Steps. As you can see, I have my Marvel shirt on. I am ready to go. I will say, as far as superhero groups, Fantastic Four has always been my least favorite, whether that's from DC and Marvel combined. I definitely prefer X-Men, Avengers, Justice League, Teen Titans all over this group. Um, Again, that being said, I really enjoyed the 90s animated series for the Fantastic Four, and I love Galactus. He's one of my favorite Marvel villains, and I know usually he's Fantastic Four villain, but in some iterations he is Avengers or Thor villain. So overall, I really like him, and I know they had a lot of ground to make up with the last installment of Fantastic Four trying to do Galactus. I know they had the 2015 one that went nowhere, but the one before that, that iteration with Chris Evans, whether you love or hate it, it had some great moments, but I think everyone, even the people who enjoy those movies, can agree Galactus being just a giant cloud looking thing was horrible. So this movie actually making him a true comic book Galactus was awesome. So I just want to kind of give my thoughts on this movie and just overall score it out of 10, kind of say what I liked about it, the good, and then the things I didn't like about it, the negatives, the bad, maybe what I would have changed about it, what I would want for the future, especially because this is going to be our last movie until we get to Avengers Doomsday. I know we have Spider-Man Brand New Day, but realistically that's not going to be much setup for Doomsday. It's telling pretty much its own story. Might have like a post-credit scene maybe. But that being said, I just want to get right into it and start with the positives. So the actors in the movie, I think they all did a great job, especially with what they had. There were some story elements I wasn't a huge fan of, but I think with what the actors were given, they did a good job. The performances were really great. I definitely got that family dynamic from the movie, and it's, again, you're just getting introduced to these characters, and they do a really good job of balancing it out to where it doesn't feel like anyone is getting left behind. I know a little bit, I guess you could say that for the Thing, but again, I personally didn't feel that way. I thought his story sprinkled in the way they did it was really good. For me, the highlight of the team is Human Torch. Again, he's my favorite of the team, aside from Reed Richards in some iterations. So obviously, I'm going to gravitate towards him. I thought the actor who played him did a great job. He had some awesome moments, some good action sequences. Obviously, the big standout with this movie is Galactus. Him being in this movie was amazing. Him having that ominous presence was spectacular. It reminded me of the 90s series when they first met Galactus on that rooftop. I think Ghost Rider was even in that episode. It was really good. And you got a sense for how intimidating this person is, how much of a figure this character is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He had such a gravitas to him and so much weight. Every single word he said, every scene he was in was just amazing. Him being after Franklin is interesting, and that kind of being his goal. Like, I get it. It's an enjoyable story beat. I don't have an issue with that. Overall, I think that's pretty much all of the good. I know they had some comic booky moments, and again, I'm a comic book fan, so I appreciate any of that. I thought the suits were really cool. Again, they reminded me of the animated series, so I'm never going to complain about that. I would rather it be a little bit more campy than it be extremely serious and toned down. So that's another positive. But then we get into the negatives. So I don't have nearly as many positives for this movie as I have for movies in the past, like Superman. And that's just, I feel like this movie didn't hit in a lot of areas that it really needed to. Although a lot of the story was good, it definitely at moments felt slow, and the action wasn't there much at all. I know they had some montagey moments, and I thought that was really cool. But aside from that, and the little bit of action sequences we get, like between Galactus and then the end of the movie, I know there's a little bit with Silver Surfer. It just doesn't feel like it's that much action. even for what we're getting. And the ending battle, that whole sequence, it feels like all the weight that we had in that first meeting with Galactus is kind of gone. And I don't know if that has to do with how they beat Galactus. Again, I'm not a fan of that either, how they defeated him. Reed Richards, I wasn't a huge fan of in this movie. I feel like he was acting emotionally a lot of the time versus rationally, especially when he told the reporters that Galactus was after their son. But then he also said, we're not going to turn our son over. That's just, why would you say that to the media? Again, because then that does create a problem. All you have to do is say, hey, we met with him and the negotiations didn't go well. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what he wants, or something along those lines. Because no one's ever going to know what he wanted from you other than the people who were there and who heard what he said. No one needs to know that he's after your son, because now you look like a bunch of selfish heroes who won't sacrifice one person for the entire world. And I know there's one point towards the end of the movie, I think it's Sue Storm says about not sacrificing their son, but also not sacrificing the world. And it's like, okay, but when you are a hero, sometimes you have to make the greatest sacrifice. And I know none of us would expect them to do that, but telling the public, hey, we're risking the entire planet because we refuse to give up just our son. Again, that's going to create some issues, some more panic. And I think just from a writing perspective, writing yourself into that corner to where your characters are now just telling the public. It's not like, hey, the public found out. No, Reed Richards, the smartest guy in the world, in the whole universe, on that planet, literally just told them Galactus's plan and that he just wants your son. So again, that's from a writing perspective. I feel like that was a huge miss. Another thing with Reed is I wish his stretchy powers were used more. I feel like especially in the early 2000s movies, they did a great job at kind of showing us his powers. And I know the one moment where he has the Ferris wheel and he has to kind of stretch to save that. He is extremely stretchy. I think you could pull him apart and he would just keep pulling and pulling and you wouldn't die. Kind of like Plastic Man. Whereas this one, I feel like if you pull him more than 3 to 4 feet, he's going to start to bleed and then eventually die. This, again, Reed Richards, I'm just not a huge fan of what they've done for the character. My biggest issues, though, with the movie is definitely with the end. How they defeat Galactus. Invisible Woman holding back Galactus like that just doesn't make any sense to me. Again, if she was like channeling Franklin Richards' powers, then I guess it makes sense because he's a cosmic level being. But again, then her dying and coming back, and I never like a character dying and then coming back, especially right away, especially in their very first movie. It makes it feel like, okay, we don't have to worry about death at all with this character or these characters because something will happen, they'll come back. That's actually why I was really nervous about RDJ coming back as Doctor Doom, but luckily they're hopefully not going to touch on anything with Iron Man, because when you have an amazing character and you kill off that amazing character, you have to be very, very, very careful if you ever bring them back, because you don't want that sacrifice to seem weightless, and you don't want that sacrifice to seem like it meant nothing, because it can just be undone at any time. So that's a really big thing for me. Just overall, their plan to beat Galactus was a little silly. It reminded me of SpongeBob, where the giant worm is trying to get Bikini Bottom, so they just move the city. So that was their big plan, and then Galactus will just be out there, and by the end of the movie, they shoot him through the wormhole or the teleporter thing, and he's gone, and again, it's a happy ending. I think this movie just missed a really, really big chance, and that big chance being this takes place on a different world. So aside from the Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom, we're not attached to this world. We're not attached to really these characters. Why not show us how menacing Galactus is, how much of a force he is, with letting him win, and making that the reason the Fantastic Four has to come to our universe. And maybe then there's some interaction with Doom. Because again, I feel like they sacrificed the ending of this movie to show the capability of the Fantastic Four, but then they diminish how powerful Galactus is. And then just for that little payoff in the post-credit scene where Doctor Doom comes and you don't even see RDJ's face, it's just him holding the mask, which again, it's a cool scene. I think it's enjoyable. It gets me a little more excited for Doomsday. I've already been pretty excited about it, just because, again, I love those characters, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. However, how they handled Galactus, especially, I feel like they nerfed him in a lot of ways in that final battle, and then just having him not succeed in devouring the planet, I think, which was a huge mistake. I think if you go back and you change that and you have him succeed, you have them realize, wow, we got our whole world devoured because of realistically our selfishness and our need to want to be great parents, but then we sacrificed being great heroes, and then that could have been a struggle that was ongoing for them. Now you just have them going to the main universe just probably after Doctor Doom because he probably took Franklin. So again, then if that turns Avengers Doomsday into, hey, Franklin is essentially the Infinity Stones, we have to stop Doom before, it just, I don't know, it loses a lot of weight. It would have been a lot cooler then too, because maybe Doctor Doom now lost even more because he saw his entire planet devoured by the Devourer of Worlds, and Galactus, there's confirmed to only be one of him. So again, maybe that would push Doom to kind of pursue the multiverse, or if Reed pursues the multiverse and then Doctor Doom escaped the planet, he kind of follows him there and then tries to course correct and ensure that if Galactus ever does return, he doesn't devour that world. So again, I feel like the end of the movie just fell really flat for me. Overall, it could have been a lot better. Still enjoyable scenes. I didn't enjoy it as much as Superman. I know those two movies were kind of going head to head, both being summer release movies. Overall, I think I gave Superman like a 8.5 out of 10. This one's definitely going to be lower. I would say this one is a 7.3 out of 10. Upon rewatch, it might go a little bit higher. I don't see it going above a 7.5, and it definitely won't get near an 8. Just because, again, obviously I'm not as attached to the characters. It's also just introducing them for the first time. So I think it established a lot of what it needed to and the storylines for the future. I think it just unfortunately suffered and sacrificed some things with Galactus that I think could have been a lot better. So that being said, that's kind of my thoughts on the movie. But what do all of you think? Let me know in the comments down below. While you guys are down there, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that noti bell. And until next time, I will see all of you space adventurers in the next video. Goodbye.